Normally, life has to feel safe when we have those related to us being our family members or neighbors or just relatives around us. It apparently is not the case every time, and it makes me take a moment and just wonder then how safe I should say I am together with my loved ones when the very enemy could be one of us. Hello everybody and welcome to Naomi's All Inclusive World, where today I get to have a sit down with Patriciah Jeckonia, a pastor, a wife, a neighbor, a sister, I guess, and so many other titles she'll get a chance to tell us. Walk us through what life is on daily basis, and especially for those working with health production, reproduction. Number one. Number two, just how much there is or there is not in our society when it comes to capacity building and just operating standards when it comes to the boundaries we need to keep as family members, as guardians, as neighbors, most especially too, as brethren in Christ. Karibu.
Oh, hi, and praise the Lord. My name is Patriciah Jeckonia Babu. I'm many things. So I am, first of all, a woman, and then I am a wife to one Reverend Eliakim Babu, and I am also a mother. I'm a mother to 8 children, and I am also a pastor at International Lifehouse Church, and I also work in the HIV, sexual reproductive health space, and I specialize in policy and advocacy and also capacity development, both at individual level and also for organizations. I work with LVCT Health as a senior technical advisor. So today it's a privilege to be on this couch, talking to Naomi. Naomi is a long-time friend. I was with her in campus, so it's actually amazing how, sometimes you lose touch, but God has a way of connecting us again. And so it's happened today, and I'm excited to really share a lot of things from the different spaces that I operate in. And as Naomi has already alluded to when she was doing the introduction, is in this world, we call home the safest place. And if not just home being the place where you have your immediate family, but also your relatives that surround your life, you want to actually look at them and believe that they would vouch for you, they would lay down their lives for you, they will fight for you, they will do anything to protect you. Okay, that's the ideal, but we know the realities of the world, we don't always get the ideal. So today I just want to share, especially with girls and women out there. And I hope that in this time as I share, you will get something that will just help you make the right decision, help you take the right action, and help you be able to chart out your life and realize the destiny that you have, realize the purpose for which you came here. And being a woman is not easy, because many times you already come from a point of, you feel disadvantaged. In society, we are seen as the weak ones. Even in church settings, when pastors preach, a lot of the issues are about the woman. When a family is not functional, they say the house belongs to, a home belongs to the woman. It is the woman who builds the home. So, and as I have conversations in different parts of the country and even the world, I've come to realize that all of us have something to do, something to contribute to help women be able to also realize their dreams. We all came here with a purpose, as I said before, and all of us in this life, we must somehow get to know, why am I here? None of us came to this world by mistake, even the ones who were born out of wedlock. They're called accidental children. People have all these weird names for them. But when you realize that your source is God, then you also know that God is not a waster. Everything he creates has a purpose. And sometimes I would even sit and ask myself, so even mosquitoes have a purpose, flies have a purpose, so why do we think other human beings, just either because of where they come from or because of their gender, or for whatever reason that can actually bring about the differences that we have, that makes them, not qualified to get the best in life. So I think, first of all, I would just like to begin from maybe the point of parenting, also as a parent and having been parented. There's a lot in my life as I was being parented that has contributed to who I am today. So I was brought up by a very strict father. In a society...
I thought we were many.
In a society where, again, it's very patriarchal. So having girls only was already stigmatizing. You've got to really figure out, how do I, walk through this path and people still see that I'm a woman of value, even if I have girls only. Yeah, so having grown up now with a very strict father and, a mother who kept on reaffirming to us, that you are precious, and it is okay, because again, the pressure within our community is, if you have girls only, there is pressure. You need to give birth to a boy, because now a boy you have confirmed. You have people to inherit. And it's actually funny, because even people who don't have anything to inherit, they are still told they need to get boys to inherit. But anyway, so you already from that point, you're growing up and you're realizing that there are things that are not appreciated about you being a girl. And now with the strictness of my dad and being the firstborn, my dad, he could not allow anything called failure. But that, I think, was helpful, because it helped me focus a lot on my studies and be very determined to make something out of my life. So eventually finished high school, and I had to continue modeling what it means to be a girl. There were other girls in the neighborhood, of course, and you would get to hear conversations when somebody was misbehaving, and misbehaving here was that they were having boyfriends. You'd be told, we are not going to tolerate that. So you just grow up knowing I've got to behave, and I've got to get something out of my life. So then went through school, went to campus, got my degree. And again, that life in campus was not easy. So you're there, you've come from a family, you have your own struggles, your financial struggles, but you're determined. You actually want to get something out of it. And I would want every girl out there to know that when you have a dream, pursue that dream. Do everything within your power, and then let God. I had years in campus where I didn't have school fees. My dad had lost his job. My mom had lost her job. I'm in school. I had siblings in school. And we had to, just make something out of life. And I remember we were reminding each other with Naomi how you even had to get side hustles in campus. So in campus, I was a sweeper. And I would sweep, and sometimes people pass there. You're young, you want to feel nice, you want to feel beautiful, you want to feel good. But here you are. You have to make choices also. So just working as a casual laborer, and I would be paid. I was very good at plaiting hair, so I would plait people's hair, to raise money and pay for my hostel. And I would do whatever I was able to do as a girl then. And the one thing that kept me in campus was that I was prayerful. I prayed, oh God. I remember my roommates even sometimes thinking I was crazy. I would go we had a space for morning glory. Right. And I would just carry my lesso, I go and spread it there and just lie there and cry. I'm not even talking to God, I'm just crying. I'm like, God, your daughter is back, I'm here. And I don't know what to tell you. But you know the desire of my heart. So God did many, many miracles for me when I was in campus, just trusting God there and making decisions that I do not want to mess up my life when I'm in campus. So God helped me that I don't turn out to be, a mother when I'm in campus and all those things. And I want to tell girls out there, it's possible. You can keep yourself. You can wait until you feel it is right for you.
And above all that, there are many other tools that you can also use, to prevent pregnancies, to prevent other diseases. And I'll be talking about that later when I talk about the work I do today. And so managed to clear campus. And I remember making this prayer on the week we were graduating. I told God, when I graduate like this, God, please do not allow me to tarmac. I felt I needed to come, get a job, start earning, come back home, support my parents to bring up my siblings, pay some, bills in the house. And God was faithful. So immediately after graduation, I think I stayed for a week or two, and I got my first job. And the job, when I got it through a friend of mine, I just started immediately, and it wasn't paying much. But the fact that I had something every month was very encouraging. So I was able to pay rent for my parents. I was able to take my siblings to school. And to date, when I look back, I see a lot of the vulnerabilities I was able to address with my siblings, because they could have ended up anywhere. They were still in high school, some of them. Others were in primary school. And people would have taken advantage of their vulnerability. When I see girls nowadays in the work that I do, a girl doesn't have money to go to school. So she drops out of school. She has to stay home. And in the process of just staying at home, many things happen. Some of them have been violated. Others have gotten into sex work just to be able to get some money, not because they have chosen sex work, but just because they would want to get just some little money to be able to go to school or even do something for themselves. In our country here, we hear of girls who have to have sex for them to buy sanitary towels.
Yep.
That thing makes me, I feel like sometimes I don't even know. I think our priorities are wrong as a country sometimes, when other people can get, in this same country, we have men get condoms for free. But girls, it's a biological process.
Yeah.
You can't run away from it, but you can't get sanitary towels for free. So those are some of the things that I really feel as a society we need to address and ask ourselves, where are our priorities? Why should a girl give herself out just to be given 50 shillings to buy a sanitary towel? So God has been very faithful. I finished school, got a job, moved on with my life, supported my siblings, and really became a support system, constantly reminding them of the importance and why in our society as a girl, you really need to be resilient and determined. And as I continue to chart out my life, I also am guided with the word of God. Paul tells believers that we are letters that are being read. That thing makes me be very careful how I live my life, because I just don't know who is reading this letter. And is it a letter that's worth being read? Is it a letter that somebody should actually take their time and read? There are fundamental questions we all ought to ask ourselves, irrespective of who I'm handling. And now being a mother, again, you're faced with a new challenge, parenting. And in my situation, I got married to my husband when he had just lost his first wife, and he had children. So at the point of just getting married like this, I became a mother of 6. And some of the kids were, they were orphaned, children to his sister and all that he also took in. So I came in, and here I was having to mother 6 children of different age groups. Some of them already, some were getting into their teens, others were much younger, but here I was with expectations again. So the expectations are that, one, the world has its own definition of who a stepmother is. And according to the story of Cinderella, stepmothers are evil.
Very.
So here you are, you're born again. You honestly know you're not evil. But the society is considering you evil because of your position. And if they are not seeing evil, they are surprised. They keep saying you're pretending.
Yes.
So I had all those struggles in my first years, and even going out of my way sometimes, to just do things that myself, I wouldn't actually accommodate them. Knowing my character, I'm strict. I have very clear boundaries. There are things I just consider unacceptable. But I had to swallow a lot of that, because now you've come into a space where the children were already used to having a mother around them. Now the mother is not there. There was the life they were used to. Now you've come, you also, you're a complete person by yourself. And this is something I would like all mothers who stepped in. I really avoid using the word stepmother because of the evil connotation it's been given. But mothers who step in, or fathers who step in, to support, raise children that you've found in any space, that you've got to do it from a pure heart. And let your heart be full of love. Being full of love is, the Bible tells us that love covers a multitude of sin. You will definitely see sin. You'll see things you don't like. You'll see things that you're saying, in my sane mind, I would not accommodate this. But God gives you the grace. So challenging myself now as a woman, having stepped into those shoes, and I'm saying, how do I hold myself as a woman who knows God, but then also as a woman who wants to defy or go against what society is used to? Everybody I think thought I was crazy. Like which girl wants to get married? And the first responsibility is to raise 6 children. No normal girl would want to do it. So I considered myself a abnormal girl. And so I said, I have to do abnormal things. I have to do things, against what society would expect, against what society would want to define for me. So God has been gracious. We've been able to raise the children. One of them is married. Wow. And we became grandparents of 3 kids, 3 grandchildren. Wow. And it's amazing. They call me Shoshmanyanga. Yeah, and it's awesome. And I always find it, I feel good when I see our kids come back and they're like, Mom, I'm stuck here. I need you to advise me. Or this thing is going on in my life. Can we talk about it? And just realizing how, as women, we need to be there for each other. Irrespective of maybe even some age differences, but really when you have a woman in your life, that woman is not an enemy. Even if she's a mother who's just come to step in, she's not your enemy. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I equally want to recognize that there are women who step in, but they want to conform to what the world knows about a stepmother. So you step in, but you're evil. You do evil things. Really. The wages of sin is death. And God will always ensure that there comes a time when you've got to learn that when you do evil, that evil comes back to you. When you do good, good will always come back. So you only reap what you sow, yeah? So I encourage all women out there, at whatever point in your life, we find ourselves raising children. It could be a child that you identified out there that needs help. It could be a child of a sister or a brother who's normal. But there are many times in our lives when we will find ourselves parenting. When you parent, do unto others what you'd have them do unto you. And many times when I now look at my biological children, I keep saying, I am not afraid if I die today. Because I know whoever will raise my children will eat of the fruit of my goodness. That whatever I did will be able to come back to them, will enrich their lives. And the sacrifices I was able to do, somebody else will make those sacrifices for my kids. And that brings me to the point of saying, as parents, we also need to raise our children to know that things can actually change. Because circumstances change, and they change in the twinkle of an eye. It could be a circumstance that changes because you've lost your source of income. So the life you were used to now is no longer there. Have we prepared our children for such eventualities? We are in a season of COVID right now. A lot of parents that will listen to this, your income reduced or you lost it altogether. from how you're seeing your children, now interact and have to change their lives. Did you prepare them for that? Death comes and death doesn't knock. It doesn't give you a notice that I'll be coming at your place on this particular day. It just comes. Do we prepare our children for such eventualities that when it happens, wherever you find yourself, my child, some children will find themselves in a children's home. Do we teach them that when you get into this space, everybody you find there is your brother, is your sister? Because when we learn to do that, there are some evils in society that we'll be dealing with. When I see somebody, I look at Naomi as my sister. There are things I do for my sisters that I will automatically do for Naomi because I've already considered her as part of my life. When I go out there and I meet George, I'm looking at George and I'm seeing a brother. I'm not seeing somebody from a different region in Kenya. No. Somebody from a different tribe, somebody of a different skin color. No. Maybe somebody even of a different sexual orientation. No. I am seeing somebody and I am seeing a brother, I am seeing a sister. And I try to imagine in this world, if we all came in with that kind of thought, then we would actually be able to address a lot of violations we see in society today. So on that part of parenting, I would really want to emphasize that and make your children your friend. There are kids when I talk to today, the one thing they just desire is, I wish I could be able to talk to my mom, or I wish I could talk to my dad. And when you ask them why can't you talk to them? They say, those guys, no, they can't understand me. They're either too harsh. And it's the messages that we keep sending to our kids. And as I enter now into my space of work, and then I'll finish with my pastoral work, I work in a space of health. I've been doing that for the past, I think, 8 or so years. And just responding to HIV, sexual reproductive health, and gender-based violence. And that space has taught me a lot. I've ended up being a very liberal and very open person. I literally discuss anything with anyone. And when I say here anything, is I discuss things that people fear to talk about. And when I talk to in my church, they keep saying we have the pastor who you can talk to about anything in your life and you won't feel judged. God has taught me never to judge people. I've sat down with people from different walks of life, and sometimes even the ones we do not want to associate ourselves with. And when I sit and listen to their stories, God has helped me understand why certain things happen to people in a particular way and what's my role as a believer. So in my work, I am very passionate about the health of girls and women. In my space of work, so this is now Patricia in her space of policy advocacy and capacity development, which I'm very passionate about. And I'm passionate about policy reforms because the way society has been shaped and the things that make things move in our society are embedded on policies. In the health sector, for example, healthcare providers will tell you, I can't do anything that is not on a guideline. So if you develop a guideline and the guideline leaves out specific populations, then there's something right now that we're talking about in the world called universal health coverage. So we'll never be able to meet the goals of universal health coverage if we leave out specific populations that are already stigmatized, for example. And because if you're already stigmatized, it means that there are things you don't enjoy, like the rest of the people. So each and every day of my work life, I look out for what are those gaps we have in policy as a country, and how can we contribute to shaping them. In the programs that we do, what are we learning, and how can we lift that and inform a policy? In the research studies that we do, what is coming out of those studies? In the conversations that we are having, what should the policy makers know as they are making policies? So, and we tend to find a lot of gaps in adolescents and women space of health. And the gaps range, there are a wide range. So for example, right now, We have a conversation that's going on about the age of consent to be able to access sexual reproductive health services. Now, Kenya is it's one of those societies that has made me keep on reminding people that just because you're not a Muslim, you're not Hindu, you're not all these other things, then we tend to say you are a Christian. I don't ascribe to that definition per se, because my understanding, and even from the Word of God, is that a Christian is Christ-like. You're a follower of Christ. You do things that please Christ. And I don't see a lot of people doing things that please Christ. So when we start having conversations about the age of consent, we also forget that, for example, for me as a pastor, I've always been cognizant of the fact that the people I reach out to, the people who come to my church, are not necessarily born again. That's just the reality. Even Jesus, when he was ministering, he knew he had Pharisees, he had Sadducees, he had all these other people who had their own ideologies. He had adulterous people, he had sex workers, he had all these people coming. But he presented the gospel in a way that would make them think twice, would make the Pharisees, feel uncomfortable about their ideologies. But here we are. We want to speak about the age of consent, and what I hear mainly amongst the religious leaders and all that is we keep saying, no. We are a society with morals and we are not going to allow 1, 2, 3, while the evidence says the opposite, okay? So during this season of COVID, we've had worrying news about teen pregnancies. In some areas where we do a lot of our interventions in the informal settlements, we have a lot of girls being violated. So when people make decisions about age of consent, about which services people should be able to access, we need to be cognizant of how diverse our society is. It's not every child that gets the opportunity to grow in a a gated space where there are many structures that support you. We've worked in the informal settlement where houses are just next to each other. What happens in the neighbor's house, you literally get to hear. I've had girls, young girls, teenagers recounting sexual experiences from a neighbor's house. And you're asking them, so what do you know about sex? And they're like, I see that happening every other day. Where do you see it? There was this girl who told us she even had to make a hole on the wall where she was sleeping because now the neighbor's bed or something is just next to them. Now this girl already from her exposure, she's exposed. And the decisions she's going to make will be different from that child who is in a gated community, doesn't even get to know what the neighbor is doing. Now for this girl who is in this informal settlement with that kind of housing, I need to be giving them information that will help them make the right decision. What we also need to know is that when you actually provide somebody with comprehensive information about sexual reproductive health, you're not telling them, go and have sex. No. We had that worry as a country when condoms first came in, and we were like, no. Now everybody's going to have sex. But I want to ask you, even my listener, do you have sex because there are condoms? No. You are able to make decisions. Yeah, but today as I'm here, a girl is being violated right now. What tools did we put in her hands to be able to protect herself? So we've had girls getting HIV just because we didn't tell them that when such a violation happens, you can go to a health facility within 72 hours. We've thrown our society into a cycle of poverty because if a 13-year-old gets a baby, what can she offer that child?